The thing that's unique to Horizon 4 is dynamic seasons. It hasn't been done before in an open world game. I can't wait to see people react to that. A world which genuinely and completely changes on a weekly basis. We've gone and asked the question about seasons, multiple times before. We asked it in Horizon 2, we asked it in Horizon 3. It is kind of the holy grail of open world games, and we've been going after it for a while. The fact that at the same time we were considering Britain, it just felt like this perfect storm, right? We have to go after these twin goals.
The specifics about the sun arc and how the lighting changes from season to season. We threw a winter sky that we'd originally gone out and captured during that first part of the process and threw it on the Amalfi Coast from Horizon 2 to see how that system would pan out. And instantly it gave everything this kind of wintry vibe, despite the fact it was the Italian coast. And so we knew going into this that having that particular specific data set for each season was really, really important and would be key in making sure the mood was fully captured.
I can't see us being able to pull off dynamic seasons in anywhere other than Britain. It's a kind of place that we live, so it's so close to our hearts and we're desperate to do it proud, so there's this inherent challenge that we put upon ourselves more than normal. Like, we really have to do this justice. So the extra work from seasons came along as part of the we can rise to do this.
We've always looked to the locals of whatever place it is we've tried to recreate in the past to tell us when we've captured the spirit of a place. And with the UK, we were kind of the arbiters of that. We had to make sure that we were capturing the true spirit of the UK, and we were acutely aware of when we weren't quite doing it. That kind of intimate knowledge with the location, I think, is integral into how we've been able to achieve our dynamic seasons feature. You have to be living in that space throughout a whole year to truly understand how everything changes.
The team have been able to get out, get in their cars, take their cameras, take their recording equipment, whatever their discipline is, and go and experience Britain in each of these seasons and bring back the data which allows this to be, I think, the most authentic recreation of a world we've ever achieved.
So every time we would go out, we'd find great locations that we could record in, and we'd always kind of go, all right, great, well, let's come back here when it's spring or when it's winter. One of the things that we've changed per season is the birds and the wildlife that change per ambient zone. The Yorkshire Moors was a great example of that, where we went there in autumn and it was full of grouse. It was that was the season for it. And then you go back in spring and the wildlife is completely changed. It's a lot more kind of pleasant in a sense. It doesn't feel as foreboding. So in springtime, this is kind of, imagine you're surrounded by heather, lots of small birds, you can hear prop planes around you. It feels really fresh and kind of active, full of life. Whereas opposed to something like autumn, where the grouse have started to come into season, it feels a little bit cooler, a little bit colder, and it really feels different based on season.
Seasons touch almost every single asset or asset type within our game with each seasonal change. We're delivering effectively 4 worlds the size of Forza Horizon 3.
It's not an oversimplification, it's literally true. I mean, it has been 4 times the amount of capture, 4 times the amount of data, 4 times the amount of content as well that we've had to review to make sure that we're pulling out absolutely the best moments that we possibly could.
That's all part of the tapestry, I think. That we don't just go and recreate a landscape, we recreate the country that we're in, the way it looks, hopefully the way it feels.
That also affects the car massively, so you get all the kind of surface effects that you've associated with the Horizon game in the past, but that's now also seasonal. So in winter there's a very characteristic thing that happens in the UK with the roads when they get gritted, and you get this particular type of grime that builds up around the body of the car, and we wanted to make sure things like that were captured. But also, if you shift onto a slightly different surface where there's virgin snow, you'll start to get all that build up around the sides of the car as well. And then in spring, you'll get it caked in mud when you're driving through some slippy, deformable mud, and that will get washed off when you drive through puddling, and then sort of build up slightly more afterwards again.
It's not just about visuals, it has to affect the gameplay. It has to affect the driving experience, which is so central to our game. When you drive in a season, you have to feel that season is different. It has to present different challenges, make you think about driving in a slightly different way. And then from season to season, we need to be delivering new content which celebrates or respects that seasonal change, but also just changes up the world and the experience.
autumn to autumn.
So from a gameplay point of view, dynamic seasons change the way you drive, they change the way the world looks, they change every race, they change every road, they change every piece of gameplay that we do. So really, seasons do change everything in the world.
Currently we're looking at 1 week per season, so you will play in spring for a week. And then at the same point for everyone, obviously, time zones will make it more or less likely whether you see this moment every week, but certainly at that point every week the season will change and will progress to summer and to autumn.
The vast majority of it you can play in every season. It just, the experience changes, it looks different, it drives different, the road surface is different. But then as the seasons come, we introduce brand new gameplay with that season, and then that's kind of taken away as we bring another season. So it's a combination of most of the gameplay is playable in every single season, but there are new seasonal things we bring in each week.
Throughout seasons you can have a totally different racetrack as well. So there's new experiences where you may have just learnt the track in summer, but now you have to relearn it in winter, for example. But it's that same experience of learning the track, you just get it so many more times now.
So a really good example would be there's a cross-country race and you drive through a river for a huge part of it. And in summer, the river's really dry and low and it doesn't have as much of an effect on your handling. And then in, say, spring, that river's really full and it moves quicker, so you need something with high suspension or it's going to slow you down a lot more. And then in winter, the entire thing's frozen and you're driving on top of this frozen river with a lot less grip. You'll understeer a lot more and you'll go wide.
That sense of anticipation of what's to come, that sense of collective memory. I was here last winter. Where do you see what happens with the lake that freezes over? Or where do you see what this river does in summer when it dries up and changes the gameplay experience? There'll be that sense of collective experience, collective anticipation, which I think will make this a really special experience for everyone who plays the game.
I'm most excited the way people respond to seasons, to hear that it kind of falls into how they schedule their gaming anyway. This week I'm going to be playing and it's spring and I need to do the spring championships, and then next week it's winter, I'm going to be doing some seasonal off-road cross-country events. I'm hoping that just falls into their kind of daily schedule anyway.
What I think we've achieved, which is Britain at its best. The best representation of Britain in each of the distinct seasons in the game.
I'm also excited and hoping to hear players turn around and say, why has no one done this before? Why has no one done a AAA game with dynamic seasons? This should have been a thing ages ago, it's perfect.